Oh, hello. Welcome once again to Stuff and Things, where I like to talk about stuff and occasionally even things. I'm your good friend Bradley, and today you find me sitting in front of my computer. I've been going through some of my recent street photography, and I thought I would show some of it to you. A couple weeks back, we did a Sunday Stuff and Things video where I showed you 10 photographs of mine that a friend of mine had picked out of, I can't remember, there were 80 or 100 photographs. She picked those out as her favorites. I showed them to you on the Sunday Stuff and Things. If you haven't seen that episode, you should check it out. But basically, I wanted to show you photographs that someone else had picked as their favorite and then see what you thought of those particular photographs. Today, I'm just going to show you some of my recent work. These aren't necessarily my favorites, but they're at least things that I have considered keepers. Show you what's been going on recently. This is probably from the last month, maybe some into the month before last, but most of them are very recent. Probably most of them are just from the last couple weeks. But just to show you some progression, the kinds of things that I've been focusing in on, and we'll talk a little bit about the photographs, and it'd be interesting to hear your thoughts as well. So let's dive in. All right, so here's the first picture I'm going to show you. I don't know what it is about this photograph, but I really like them. There's something about these two girls. It looks like, I don't know, it looks like this picture should have been taken in the deep south, maybe in the 1980s or something. There's just something about their look. I enjoy the look on her face. She sees me. She didn't realize I was taking a picture, I don't think, because I was just looking down at my camera. But I don't know, there's just something I really enjoy about this. I don't know if the composition is all that exciting or anything, but I just enjoy them as subjects. So how do we do this? Let's see, tilde. Okay, so this one, I've been really getting into trying to expose for the highlights and then letting things be in shadow that are in shadow and not worrying too much about it. I like this because, again, the subject is really interesting. I like the lighting on her face and how some of her is kind of obscured, but then her shoe is still visible. And just, again, the look she's giving the camera. There's something I really appreciate about that. There's this interesting connection that you're getting with the subject. And yeah, I just like her. I like the composition. Again, these aren't necessarily my favorites, but just some of the photographs that I've been taking over the last month or two. This one I enjoyed because you can see a little story here. This homeless woman is asking them for money, and you can see that she is saying, sorry, no, I don't have any cash. Just like kind of the juxtaposition. Maybe not award-winning or anything, but I enjoy that little story. Here we have one that compositionally I kind of like. I don't love the lighting, but there are some interesting things going on with the lighting. What I enjoyed mostly about this was just how many layers they are. If you zoom all the way in, you have these children back here, a family, and then as you keep zooming out, you just see all these different people kind of lined up. There's good depth of field here, so most of them are in focus. And then the subject would probably be these two girls here, laughing, drinking a Red Bull. She's actually in graduation gowns because this was during the Western Washington University graduation period when people were walking around with their families. I just like the layering. I think it looks cool. This one I enjoy just obviously for the subject. This little girl riding this little scooter. Her shirt says "Life is good." And just that like look on her face. This was part of a burst of several different photographs. And there's another one where she just has this very impish look on her face. And I just enjoy this. It's like she's doing her thing. This is probably her grandmother who's walking beside her. I like the pink helmet. I just like her. I think it's fun. Here's one that I really enjoyed. I purposely composed it to cut off the heads of all these women because the look on this dog's face is so obsequious and eager to please. If you zoom in on this dog, I just love that. To me, that just speaks volumes about kind of the human-dog relationship. And I don't know, the whole way this works where you just see these legs like pillars looming over this little dog, and it's just like looking up. I just appreciate that. I don't know if that's anything that anyone else would appreciate, but I do. This one, I just like the composition and the subjects. I enjoy kind of splitting it down the middle with the brighter highlights here with the greenery and the sky, and then the darker awnings and overhangs from the buildings. I like the three kind of triumvirate of subjects here. One guy coming this way, a girl going that way, and then her looking wistfully back. Great look on her face, great little moment captured, and I just like the balance of all three of them in frame. Yeah, I just think it looks good. I enjoy it. Now, this is an example of just, I love teenagers. I think they're hilarious. And this is a group of teenagers. Just these two groups, or these two couples, I don't think they're like a couple, but two people walking together. Obviously, he sees me, sees my camera. She's kind of giving me side eye as well. Like she's wondering if I'm taking her picture or not. I like that. But the highlight for me is obviously this girl and her makeup and her eyebrows and just the whole thing and the energy of everything here. I love too, if you zoom in, you can see this poster of David Bowie behind her, also made up rather flamboyantly. And it's just something about teenagers that I find hilarious. So that's what I appreciate about this picture. Here we have an example again of where I'm trying to expose for the highlights and letting things be in shadow if they're in shadow. But this is a spot where I could find people walking through, and if I snap the picture at the right time, I could get some really interesting shadowing, and like certain things would be under highlight, some things would be under shadow. And I just like her. I like the subject. I like the lighting on her face, the look on her face. It's just very kind of ethereal. It looks as though she's almost like sleepwalking. It's just, I don't know. There's just something really interesting about her and the picture. And then I like this looming shadowy figure here. I just liked it. This one, again, is just an example of lighting that I really enjoy. Just this shaft going down over his face, but a lot of him is obscured by shadow. He looks kind of dangerous. He's got a club in the back of his backpack. You could see just the handle of this like billy club or something sticking out, which is interesting. He's giving me a look too, kind of an intimidating look. I just enjoy this. I think I like the way I exposed it. I like just the balance of light and shadow and everything. I appreciate it. This one, compositionally, I don't love the lighting, but what I love is the subjects. I love this woman, like a pretty woman walking, and this man staring quite blatantly at her ass. I just enjoy that as a little moment of humanity there. Everything else about the picture, I don't know, but I just like that moment. I wish I could have gotten a little bit better lighting and maybe them more sharply in focus. I can't remember what aperture I shot this at. It probably was, or I probably didn't have a wide enough depth of field to really capture or to really nail the focus on that, but I enjoyed that. This one, if you watch that Sunday video, you may have seen the picture that I took of this woman inside the coffee shop, whose window, or the coffee shop's window that I'm shooting out of here. But I just like this. It's kind of a cliche of shooting through a rain splattered window. But again, I like the subject. I like just the whole kind of dreamlike quality of the composition. She's looking down at this dog kind of lovingly. I enjoy it. This is one that I guess this is actually older than a couple months, because this is when all the cherry blossoms were falling, and there are certain parts of town where I live where there are just drifted cherry blossoms everywhere. And I kind of forgot about this picture, but I was going through some of them, and just really strikes me. I like the textures, the light and the shadow. I love just the color of all these cherry blossoms piled up here, some of them kind of withering and wilting. I don't know. It says something to me, and I enjoy it. This one is probably from just like the last couple of days. Again, this is about light and shadow, and some of the things that I'm really starting to key in on more with my photography is just, it's the subject for some reason calling out to me like, oh, this person interests me. I don't necessarily know why, but they just do. And then if there is some interesting lighting going on, I really love deep, dark shadows. I really like that lately, and I'm letting them stay in the photographs. And I don't know, there's just something really kind of striking about her and him as well. I like the skin tones and the texture. Just everything about it I like. I don't know that again that this is some sort of a keeper photograph that I would put in a portfolio or anything, but just as far as things that I've taken recently, I enjoy this. It almost looks like I was shooting models, like I had hired them to come out and let me photograph them on the street. But obviously, this was totally candid, and maybe that's something that I kind of like about it too. I don't know, a good one for me. This one I enjoy for basically the subject and this little story that you can tell yourself. It looks as though he is trying to walk down this astroturf green walkway, and because there is a gap, he has stopped and he can't go any further. Obviously, that's not actually what happened. What was happening? He was setting this up. I guess it's like a little putting green or something. I don't know what was going on, but I just appreciate that. I like the composition too. This is kind of rule of thirds action. He's coming through here. This is coming through here. Kind of a nice, on a nice grid. I don't know. You get some good shadow areas here, some highlights around. Just something I liked. Again, these are just some recent ones that have caught my eye. This one, I have a lot of photographs with this background recently because I have found a spot where there's this really good place where it transfers from light into shadow. And again, I've been really interested in just playing with that with subjects. And so this is a good example of that. I don't know that this picture is necessarily amazing, but this is what I've been trying to do recently, is just really capturing part of the subject in shadow and part of them in the light. And this one in particular, I don't know what it was exactly that occurred, but there's this weird plastic-like quality to her skin now where she almost looks like an automaton or something. And it really kind of strips away her features. And it's just really interesting to me. I just really enjoy how that looks. I do like the background too, with the red brick and the green from the trees and the blue from the sky. I don't know, but this is what I was really going for in this picture, and I just like that look. Again, I don't know that the entire composition is amazing, but I enjoy that. Here is one that I like. This woman likes to yell at me whenever she sees me. Like, typically I don't photograph homeless people, but she always demands that I take her photograph. She's been in several that I think there's another one I'll show you within this little episode. But here she was yelling just epithets and, and things at me as I was walking by. And I just like this kind of the look of these legs. So there's a pair of legs here, a pair of legs here, a pair of legs here, everybody looming over her. She's in this dappled sunlight and just kind of in this position down below. Like, I don't know. I found the composition interesting, cutting these bodies off too, and having her as kind of the main subject, but sort of in shadow. I like it. This one, I just enjoy the composition and the colors, the reds and the blues. And I was lining this shot up with trying to get the blue just from the top of these garbage cans. And then this guy just happened to walk through the frame with this blue hat on as well. And I don't know, just pull it all together. I like it. I think it's striking. Here again, just playing with light and shadow. I really enjoy having something so obscured by the shadow, but then kind of emerging out of it. And this car was parked perfectly. There's this weird rock right in downtown that I like to go and photograph sometimes because it's just such an odd juxtaposition. This giant sandstone rock is just plonked in the middle of this alley. And this car was parked near it. And so I like the texture of the rock. And then the shadow was just falling perfectly down the middle of this vehicle. So you could really, I was exposing again for the highlights that you can't really see now, but letting the rest of the car be in shadow and just seeing the shiny surfaces and all the interplay between the light and the shadow. This one I don't really think is a good picture. Very flat lighting. They were in shadow, like the whole thing. The highlights are kind of blown out or something. I just thought it was weird. There's this guy running. He's got a water bottle. He is just wearing like boxer shorts, and he had a friend by him. And I don't know. It was more just I found the subject striking, and this is an example where I don't know that the photograph really. I don't think that I pulled the photograph off. whether it's because maybe I could have changed some things, but I hate it when I usually avoid streets like this where the entire sidewalk is in shadow and you can't get any kind of highlights or anything on the person. They're all just in shadow. And so if you expose for them, your highlights are going to be way blown out, but then they just look super flat too. So I don't know. Not much I could do with this one. Here we are at that same background. And again, I just like people disappearing into the shadow. I like here how her hand just kind of disappears and it almost looks like it's being sucked into the car in a weird way. But yeah, I just love it's something that maybe nobody else is going to be that into, but just at this current moment, I'm really interested in people moving into shadow and me capturing the people while they're moving into shadow. Maybe that will develop into something at some point. I'm not sure. This one I loved because it's just this girl disappearing behind this plant, and it's like she's a little ice cream cone or something. It just amused me. She was basically picking these plants up when the store was closing and putting them back inside the store. But I managed to snap this at just the right time where pretty much her entire body has disappeared behind this plant. And I enjoy that. It's just a fun little image. This one again, the light and shadow thing. I do like having foreground elements deeply shadowed, having the highlights in the back exposed. This might be slightly overexposed for the highlights in the back. But just having things obscured by the shadow and then having someone moving into that shadow. I love how her face here looks like a skull because of the shadows. Like her eyes are just completely hooded and dark. I don't know. Just something striking about that for me. This picture is a good example of something that I like the concept of, but then in execution, it doesn't really work too well. I love that this guy has a shirt that says Devour on it. And then there is a seagull looking as though it is diving at him to eat him. The seagull looks big because it's in the foreground. The guy looks smaller because he is in the background. Captured the seagull pretty well in flight. Things are in focus. The problem is that there's just too much going on. I wish this car wasn't here. I wish there was less busyness in the background. I wish maybe there was just one vehicle that he was getting into and that we had kind of, I don't know, just a much less busy, much less colorful background, and we could just see the seagull going at him. As it is, the subject and the seagull and the guy, they get kind of lost in the background here. I like the idea, though. Okay, now this is a recent one I took. This is that same woman. Again, she demanded that I take her picture. And I really enjoy this. And I don't know if you will see all the same things that I see in it, but I will point them out to you, so then you probably will see them. I noticed right away when I was taking the picture, when I saw her, that she was wearing these odd pink latex gloves, basically the exact same color as these flowers back here. She has this blue shirt. There's blue in this mural, and there's also pink in this mural of the same color as these gloves. And so I was trying to get her and the flowers and the mural at the same time. So that was intentional. What wasn't intentional was that her hand ended up in the pretty much exact same position as the hand in the mural right here. And the hand is holding like these shards that are flying out. She is holding part of this orange. You can see bits of the rind flying around everywhere here. I don't know. There's just a lot of weird symmetry and mirror images going on. Not mirror images, but just kind of repeated images going on here. The yellow from the orange with the yellow back here. Like there's also the striping on her shirt. Like, I don't know. There's just a lot kind of tying all this together that I appreciated. I like her being kind of silhouetted. I don't know. I just think this is a successful picture and I enjoy it. So there you go, gang. Those are my most recent street photographs. That's probably over, like I said, probably over the last couple weeks, but some of them are from maybe a little bit longer because I just happened to find them. I'm taking anywhere from 50 to 100 photographs a day. And then when I weed through those, I get maybe 10 to 20. Then I'm thinking, oh, maybe I'll post these. And then out of those, I'm getting maybe 5 well, not even that much, but I have a folder of about 100 images that I consider keepers, and I will continue to curate those and weed through those. And eventually, I hope to have a pretty nice portfolio of street photography. But anyway, that's what I've been doing recently. That's kind of what my thought process and my creative process has been when taking these photographs. Would love to hear which images jumped out to you. Yeah, just let me know which ones you liked the most and maybe why in the comments section below. But we'll keep checking in on this, and we'll have some more street photography content for sure coming up. I might have a cool collaboration with someone, a street photographer in Japan, so look forward to that. But until next time, until we meet again, I've been your good friend Bradley. You've been the audience. This has been Stuff and Things. I'll see you later.